I was hooked on the online gambling. I was a dopamine addict. We went from 600 euros in debt to 11k at the end. In the Netherlands news, it was said that a lot of mosquitoes came in the country.
Jesper. He went from gambling addiction and 11,000 euros in debt to $10 million plus in dropshipping sales. His comeback was so insane, even Alex Hormozi flew him out for winning the Skool games.
And was like, let me take this news screenshot, put it in my ads and in my landing page. And then I sold for 200k mosquito lamps. That was the moment that my life completely changed. I was hooked. I was finally financial free. I was making 1.5 million a month. That was the moment that I got in love in Google Ads dropshipping. Meta is still really powerful, but Google should be the foundation of your dropshipping business. The money is really nice, but more money, more problems. More people, more problems.
How do you find the balance between building the assets, achieving the goals, enjoying the journey, spending time to live life along the way?
Finding the balance between being humble but never satisfied, that's the tough one.
Welcome back to another episode of the TheoClarkePodcast, where I interview e-commerce entrepreneurs. Today's podcast is sponsored by Commercive Fulfilment, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Jesper. Jesper, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing amazing, dude.
Good.
Enjoy my time here in Dubai. A little bit tired, but I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, for sure. You turned up today with your luggage ready to go straight to the airport later, so appreciate you making the time.
Appreciate you inviting me, man.
Looking forward to the conversation. So, Jesper, where to start with you? You've gone from, you've been in Ecom for 7 years, gone from an in-debt gambling addict to someone who's gone on to generate over $10 million in sales from dropshipping, launched a Google advertising agency, and arguably have built one of the fastest growing Ecom communities, even having been invited to spend the time with Alex Hormozi as a winner of the Skool game. So, plenty there to unpack. Individually, I'd say that each of these are fantastic achievements. Put them all together, you're onto something here. So hats off to you. You've done a fantastic job, and I'd love to learn a bit more about your journey. I know in that 7 years, it's not all been wins though. You have had many hardships, and you could even say losses. And I think it would be a fantastic place to start, if you don't mind just sort of sharing with us where you did start 7 years ago and how that journey has kind of transpired.
Oh, that would be amazing, because I think a lot of people share the glory, but you don't know the story. And that's what I hate with Instagram stories, because I think that's not really storytelling, and people show the glories there and the wins. But I think what I've seen, there's a lot of storytelling and big stories behind every win and every loss. Yeah, true.
For sure. I think social media is definitely just a highlight reel a lot of the time. You don't get many people sharing the bad days. And often when they do, it's often well received as well, because it's relatable, right?
I think a lot of people really underestimate the power of that, really. I think showing way more transparency I think it's a really benefit by doing this,
100%. And I know it is something that you've shared previously online, I think maybe around about a year ago. But just for my benefit and maybe the viewers of the watchers, could you just kind of take us through that journey of kind of how everything started?
The funny thing is that I'm not even learned everything around marketing or anything myself. So when I was 13, I already got my jobs as a sales guy. So I was like 13, working for $2 per hour. So I was always in love with selling stuff. That's what I've done since 13 till 18. Then of course I needed to get a degree. So I was really good with human interaction. And I loved the physical body as well, by just making changes to your body by training. I was hooked on bodybuilding, fitness, and this kind of stuff. I even had a blog when I was 16, and I had like 40,000 followers in the Netherlands. People were following my journey from 16 till 20. I was just literally posting everything there. It's a sad thing, they went bankrupt, so I cannot get it back anymore, because I was literally just blogging and vlogging every day my journey. And then my interest became really into the body and the transformation. So I was studying physical therapy. So my background is literally a physical therapist. I've treated thousands of patients with neck pain, back pain, and this kind of stuff. But then I noticed really that people they just come for symptoms, so they don't want to resolve the cause, the real root of the problem, and that's got me really demotivated. And then luckily, COVID happened. Because I was, I was still working a 9 to 5, and COVID happened, and I was forced to be home for 6 weeks. And I already started doing dropshipping as a side hustle, and then dropshipping really took off in these 6 weeks, and I was hooked. And I needed to do that because in 2017, 2018, 2019, while I was studying as a physical therapist, I was thinking that gambling would make me some side hustle money, because I needed to pay the rent, everything myself. And that became a real big problem. I was hooked on the online gambling. I was a dopamine addict. And then I think we went from 600 euros in debt to 11K at the end. And then at the moment that I got my graduation, so I got my university degree. Yeah, then the bank came across and they were like, "Yep, you need to get your 9 to 5 because we freeze everything." And then everything got frozen. My bank accounts got frozen. I got a 36 euros payment plan for, I believe, 8 years. So I needed to be on an 8 years plan to pay back 11K. Yeah, and that was really insane. So my 9 to 5 was really not enough. So luckily that COVID happened. I was like, okay, now I'm forced to literally do something else. And then I believe in 2020, that was the first year that COVID happened. So I was home. I had no laptop because a physical therapist doesn't need a laptop. My wife was working at home. So I borrowed her laptop in the evening. And I was like, yeah, let me try this out. And then we saw in the news, in the Netherlands news, the Dutch news, it was said that a lot of mosquitoes came in the country. There was like a big influx of mosquitoes. And I was like, let me take this news screenshot, put it in my ads and in my landing page, and then I sold for 200K in mosquito lamps, and that was the moment that my life completely changed. I was hooked. I was literally hooked. So that year I quit my 9 to 5, and the rest is literally history. Because in 2021 we were doing 100K a day. It was insane. And then of course the famous Facebook EOS update came in 2021. And that's where the first problems started to occur again, because I was finally financial free. I was making money, 1.5 million a month. We had a team of 42 people. iOS update came and we went from 1.5 million a month to, I believe the next month, 600K, and a month after 200K. So again, I got really in big problems because I was not able to, to pay Amex back as well. So Amex was forcing me like, hey dude, you have a 300K bill to pay. And I'm like, yeah, but dude, this is not going well. So then I was forced to let everyone go. And I needed to find out, what's next. And then the lady that was working with me, she started working with another Dutch dropshipper, and she was posting some results as well. So it's like, how the heck can this be? I'm struggling. Why is she killing it? So I texted her, and she was like, yeah, we stopped doing Facebook as well, and we went into Google. Like, let's see what this Google thing is. And literally, when we launched the first ads, it was insane. I believe like in 10 days, we're doing already 10K a day. And that's where all the crazy stuff happened. So I was doing crazy numbers again on Google, especially in the Dutch market. And I think that's one of the stupidest mistakes that I've made as well in my career. The Dutch people don't want you to see you win. So I got invited in a television show as well in the Netherlands, very famous show. Then, of course, they found out that I was a dropshipper. The TV show went live, and now I think a lot of people, when you still Google me right now in the Netherlands, people will think that I'm a scammer, and I don't know what people will write about me. But that was just me being public that I was doing dropshipping, and I think that's what people really hated. But that was the moment that I got in love in Google Ads dropshipping. I found out that a lot of people were sleeping on it. I already had a big personal brand in the Netherlands. People knew me, so they're like, hey, how are you doing this? And this is how the idea started with the Google Ads agency. I'm like, yeah, we can run some ads for you, and that's how it exploded.
I really appreciate you sharing that with me, and also being a bit more real about kind of the ups and downs. I'd love to unpack more about how your Google Ads agency developed, and you kind of went on to build the community as well. Yeah. But just kind of taking it back and reflecting on some of the things that you said there. It's interesting because we both kind of got into dropshipping about the same time, 2020. Yeah. I think that was a real pivotal moment for people, having time away from work, or in your instance, not working as much because I assume you weren't able to go and do your physical therapy. Yeah. Things were shut down. Everyone was kind of locking down in Europe and stuff like that. Yeah. To then giving people the time and the opportunity to start exploring the ability that is available with online and looking at things like dropshipping. So it's interesting that we kind of share that similarity. You mentioned you were selling Mosquito lamps.
Yes.
I thought that you'd said that you were selling dog beds to generate 200K. So
no, that was the mosquito lamps. Before we were selling dog beds as well, and cat beds. But I always say, like, I've started Ecom in 2018, but in 2018, dude, that was just like literally 60K in revenue, 60K ad spend. So I thought, break even. But then I found out you need to pay cost of goods as well. And so I already started dropshipping in 2018, but I never took it seriously until COVID really forced me to do. So literally with COVID, this was me, the big pivot. I was like, oh my God, now I need to do it. I was really forced my back against the wall. So that's how I really became forced to do it. And I was doing 7K a day with the mosquito lamps, and with the dog beds, I was doing maybe 2K, 3K a day, but I never understood metrics. So I'm a really bad guy with KPIs, metrics, Excel, and this kind of stuff. So I was just checking my revenue, my ad spend. I'm like, oh, I'm profitable. So let's scale. I had some crazy stuff in 2018, 2019, I believe, when I needed to pay the VAT and the sales tax. I was like, oh yes, I made finally my first 10K in revenue, and then I found out like, oh shit, VAT tax, and then I was really scared. Like, okay, what do I need to do? Do I pay the Dutch tax authorities, or should I ship the cost of goods? And I was way more afraid of the tax authorities. Really stupid. So then I started emailing all my clients, all my customers on the dropshipping store, literally with a founder story, like, hey, my name is Jesper, I screwed up some things, your package will be delayed for 30 days. And that's where the first stress already came in, because Dutch people don't like to wait for 30 days. So that was insane.
I see. I think that's where a lot of people in ecom not fall short, but I think it's easy to get caught up when you're starting out chasing kind of revenue, but not understanding that this is an actual business here, and you are going to have other things that you're liable to pay, such as taxes, and actually fulfilling your duty to the customer who has entrusted you and purchased good from you and things like that. So these are all things that you start to learn very quickly when you start scaling up, because these things that initially are maybe not very big problems, as soon as you start scaling and there's more revenue coming in, those problems then magnify because they grow in quantity, and you need to kind of fix up quite quick. So that's one lesson there where I think e-commerce business owners at the start need to start treating it like an actual business, not just this get rich quick scheme where you can rip someone else's store and start pushing products, which does happen a lot, but it should be an actual thought out business with some sort of strategy. Obviously easier said than done, because you kind of have to start somewhere, but that's the beauty of, I guess, courses like yours, or when people work with me as a mentor, to kind of show people, look, there's more than just a website here, like there's actually more going on in the back
missing
end.
The details, man. It's really missing the details. I literally saw it every time as a side hustle, and just framing it like a business, it gives you really a different mindset as well. So I was always thinking, this is the side hustle that gets me out of debt. That's how I was always thinking. But when I shifted, like, hey, wait a minute, I can maybe stop my 9 to 5, I can provide for my family, blah, it really felt completely different. So when I was doing the side hustle stuff, it never really took off until I was really, really forced. I'm like, no, I need to get out of debt, and I want to stop my 9 to 5, because I was really hooked with it. I was selling already products and stuff when I was 13. So it's like, why am I doing the physical therapist job? I really hated it. But I think I'm not saying that I'm forced to do in university and this kind of stuff, but it's very normal in the Netherlands as well. Like, you have your corporate ladder that you need to climb up. But I could already see, even though in the physical therapist world, getting rich and wealthy and free, no, it's really, you're serving the people. You're literally serving. So you put yourself every time on the second spot, because your client is the most important one. But I really felt like I'm serving these people, but next week they come back because they're still working in a bad posture. So I'm like, I'm not being treated like I want to be treated.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of industries as a whole is, well, at least in the health space, is they don't always address the root cause. And I think that's something you mentioned earlier. It's more like putting a plaster on the problem until you need to come back in another 2 weeks. But it's like, what is the actual cause of the initial problem? We need to kind of address that. But it's the same in the UK. Like the traditional route is to go to school, go to university, or get a college degree, go to university, and I took the exact same route. I did the same thing, an apprenticeship, a university degree, just got qualified as an engineer. COVID came, and then I'm like, finally I can actually invest time into this dropshipping thing that I've been hearing about for the past year. So it's interesting that there's obviously that overlap there, but it's very, very common, I think, in the whole of Europe, well, from the UK anyway, that is kind of the traditional route that people are to go down. What's interesting is I see a lot more people now with the growth of like e-commerce, dropshipping, making money online. People are, it seems, turning away from college and university and more focusing on these online spaces, and maybe you can attest to that with your community and things like that. But before we get on to that, and I guess more into the dropshipping space and Google Ads dropshipping in particular, there's a few more things I was hoping we could maybe go over. So you mentioned that you scaled your ecom stores.
Yeah.
I think at one point you mentioned you had about 11 stores.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, a team of around 42
Yes.
people. So
Yeah.
you were then doing ecom at quite an aggressive scale.
Yeah.
You mentioned the iOS update caused some problems for you, as it did many e-commerce business
Yeah.
owners at that time.
Yeah.
Some managed to kind of battle through it and keep on with Meta or the likes of TikTok. But you, interestingly, got introduced to Google,
Yeah.
and that was almost like your scapegoat in some ways. And since then, it's kind of been I guess the thing that you preach, Google Ads, as am I a big advocate of it as well.
Yeah,
So,
it's funny that you say this, because really people that got wiped out at that moment was really, I think, the low entrepreneurs that are just like, shit, dropshipping is that, it doesn't work anymore. So they started doing Amazon FBA, YouTube automation, and this kind of stuff. But I knew the dropshipping business model worked, but the advertising platform is now giving me some headaches. So just by being innovative and just switching, and a lot of people really don't love the changes. People are afraid of changes. And I was like, yeah, I'm really used to this stress, so let's make a change. And I think that's where a lot of people sleep on. You will see it now with the Trump tariffs, etc., etc. You will literally see the bad people that will be weed out, like literally they will be gone. But the people that will be innovative and creative, they will always win.
running an e-commerce business comes with many different challenges, especially when it comes to order fulfillment. Late deliveries, high shipping costs, and customer complaints can negatively impact your business, potentially leading to payment processing holds that will eat into your profit margins. That's why I'm excited to introduce you to Commercive, our sponsor today. They handle everything from manufacturing to storage and shipping with no hidden fees. And their dedicated WhatsApp support team are on hand to make sure you're always taken care of. Commercive offers 5 to 10 day shipping worldwide from China, with same-day processing and USA warehousing available for brands at competitive rates. Having served over 3,000 e-commerce sellers, Commercive has earned a reputation for reliable fulfillment. It's super easy to get set up. Just click the link in the video description and visit commercive.co to get a free quote. Definitely. I think business is always changing, and even just relating it to like something I see happening in real time, a lot of people, or so it seems, are forgetting about the older traditional businesses that are maybe run by people in an older generation.
Yeah.
Younger people, it seems, are not focusing on these more traditional business models. And in some senses, in real time, I'm seeing these older businesses get left behind digitally.
Yeah.
Everyone that's young wants to focus on, or so it seems, Amazon FBA, Ecom, which is great. Don't get me wrong, it's what I did, it's what you did. But I notice it happening, like I say, in real time, where some of these older businesses, the more traditional businesses, are not keeping up with the times. And I think what's going to happen is either a flush out where they sell the business on to someone young who then comes in and is very entrepreneurial, is with the times, and can take what they've learned about the current times with regards to marketing, or even maybe things that they've learned online, and really scale like a traditional business quite far.
Yeah.
I see this kind of happening. I don't know if you've seen a similar thing, but not to digress too much, but so you mentioned you built your stores. Obviously at one point you were running about 11 stores. You see Google Ads as kind of the scapegoat and your opportunity to get out. So how did you then make that transition? Because you mentioned you had to let a lot of team members go. That can't have been easy as well. So what did that process look like, and how did you kind of transfer from 11 stores, tons of revenue, tons of team members, to then, okay, we need to switch, we need to change things here?
I think it was literally the mentality again, like, okay, let's go back into the trenches. So I knew that with the Facebook setup that I had, and I had business partners in there, I was really not in control anymore. And I think that's where I screwed up as well. Now I'm thinking back, I could already see, hey, this is not stable for the rest of my life. I know everything that goes up goes down somehow. Like it's always in life. So I knew this high is really, really nice, but and now I know everything that goes up goes down as well. And that's the approach that I took after with Google. I was like, okay, now we're really low. After this, we could go up. So what I did, I was just going back in the trenches, doing it myself. And that's where I found really the power of Google, because it was really easier to manage. Instead of like buying Facebook managers, Facebook profiles, pages, everything else. No, it's just setting up your Google Merchant Center. And I already had the stores. So I was literally just plugging these stores into the Google Merchant Center. And I did not know anything about Google Ads. Like literally, I didn't know anything about Google Ads. And then I found out about an agency that was really good with Google Ads. And then I'm like, hey, can you help a dropshipper as well? And they're like, yeah, let's try this. And that's how it really exploded. And then I noticed, hey, outsourcing media buying is really easy. It's really easy. Like, I think people should leverage way more agencies just in general, because it's not your power, it's not your zone of genius. My zone of genius was not Google Ads. It was really more the management, the creative stuff. And being innovative again. So I was like just thinking more markets, more niches, more stores, and that was what my power was. And then I started to build a team again as well, but it was very lean because the media buying was outsourced. I already had a shit ton of products in my store, so I was really. Then I found out this is the lazy way of dropshipping, and that's what I teach normally in my school. I think it's really easy these days, especially with Google Ads dropshipping, to make your first 1K day without doing all the hustle if you even outsource the media buying. So yeah, it was just literally just common sense for me, because I saw a lot of guys switching to Google Ads as well, and a lot of people were still trying Facebook. And then I saw the hustle. I'm like, no, this is never. I will never touch it again on this kind of scale that I did. Of course, Meta is still really, really powerful, but I think Google should be the foundation of your dropshipping business.
Yeah. I like that approach, and I see it the exact same way as well. I started with Google Ads back in 2020, and it's still where I start an e-com store now, because I think it's the best place to build consistency and build a foundation. Plus, I think it's worth us sharing how the two platforms work and how they're different, especially in the way that they bill, right? With Meta, you're charged based on your CPM, whereas with Google, it's very much just based on your CPC. So that in itself is a huge difference, because on Meta, you're paying for views regardless of whether someone clicks or even converts. Whereas on Google, you're just dictated mostly by your CPC and level of competition. So if you know your conversion rate, if you know your CPC, and you know your average order value, you can kind of pretty much work out what your margin is going to be and what your profitability is going to look like simply by getting your conversion rate and measuring it against your CPC. So especially with the likes of tools like Google Keyword Planner or Google Trends, you can see how many people are searching for these products on a monthly basis. So you actually have all of the data there in some senses to then build a store, know that there's going to be a certain amount of traffic based on the search demand, and know what you're going to be expected to pay as a CPC. So as long as your conversion rate somewhat lines up, it's a great foundation. Past that point, yes, start introducing things like Meta ads, TikTok ads. Once you've built that foundation, you've got the stability, you know the products sell. Then bring them on and start scaling up more aggressively. Once you've captured all of the demand available on Google or still working on that, start creating some demand on Meta with your creatives and things like that.
It's just like surfing, I guess. Like with surfing, it's exactly the exact same thing. You catch the waves and you ride the waves. And a lot of people don't understand with Facebook, TikTok ads, you create the wave. You literally create the wave. And you can ride it if you have a really nice wave, then you can ride this. But with Google, I first tap into the wave, and then I add Facebook ads and TikTok ads to make the wave even bigger. And that's how you should be approaching it. I think a lot of people really don't understand the basic fundamentals. It's like marketing driven, really heavy with Facebook ads and TikTok ads. So you should be really focusing on marketing and getting better in creative marketing, etc. But a lot of people lack experience in that. So why not do first Google Ads? You don't need to have this experience. You need to have a more data-driven approach. You see what's working, you tap into it, and then you have the cash flow to literally learn the experience. Because with Facebook and TikTok, you should be having more budget, really to make more mistakes so you learn. I spent a lot of money with Facebook ads and I learned it a lot in a lot of ways. But now I can see the power and the knowledge that I have with Facebook ads. Now I can literally get it back to the Google Ads system. I built my stores running on Google Ads, and now I can literally think, if some products pop off, imagine we make UGC content and this kind of stuff, and we run it on Facebook ads. That's the power.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're very much aligned in that sense. And you're right, I like the wave analogy. If you can create a wave on Meta, like I know guys who have still been running the same creative for a year or two, scaling in multiple different markets, and they're sitting comfortably on a 7-figure store. Obviously, they're still adding in new creatives, which is a big part of the Meta process and the TikTok process. And that's one thing that you do have the benefit of on Google. As long as you look after your feed and you know how to leverage the data that you have available within your search terms, adding your keywords and expanding into other markets, it's slightly different. It's the same. It's still marketing, but it's a little bit different. With Meta, you're more heavily reliant on, of course, the creative image and videos, and the new updates with things like ChatGPT is maybe making that bridge a little bit easier now. Be interesting to see how that kind of transpires. But with Google, I feel like you have all the data there at your fingertips. You just need to know how to leverage it and where to go to get that information.
Yeah, with Google is a data-driven approach. Facebook and TikTok ads is a creative approach. And a lot of people lack the creativity and literally like, oh shit, I just tested 5 creative, it's not working. But you should be maybe testing hundreds of creative, because the product normally is already working. So the product is already verified by someone else. You're seeing, oh, this guy is scaling. But literally with the Facebook ads and TikTok ads, what's really powerful is literally thinking, okay, this guy is scaling for hair loss for men. Why should I not take the exact same product, but I will approach it for women, for example? That's how you should be thinking. And with Google ads, it's literally, oh yeah, you can create the demand for hair loss products on Facebook. I will capture this on Google.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Demand creation versus demand capture.
Yeah.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
So maybe we can kind of now just relate this back to your journey then. You then went ahead and built your advertising agency, Google advertising agency, Icarus, right? And I think it's worth you sharing how the name for that came about, and then we can kind of talk about that journey and going into the community building aspect.
Yeah, I really love the Greek mythology of Icarus, because it's really like just this guy was just captured on an island and with his father, and his father built the nice wings for him so he could escape the island. But the wings were really, really soft, so they were from wax, I believe. So the father already, Daedalus, told Icarus, don't fly too high because the sun will burn your wings, but don't fly too low because then the water gets moistured and then you will sink. So everything that goes up goes down, and that's literally where Icarus came from. Because I was thinking I was on top of the world when I was doing 1.5 million a month. I was buying watches, spending stupid money on stupid stuff, because I was like, this will never stop, this will never end. Well, then I got the smash hammer on my head, and I was like, oh shit, this is how it feels to be down, like literally coming down. And then a friend of mine who started with me the agency is like, dude, you're literally an Icarus. I'm like, oh, that's a strong name. I love that. I love that name. So we literally was like, yeah, a lot of dropshippers have the Icarus mentality, just pushing up, don't look back, and then they're getting forced to look back because they're getting smashed. And that's where my name came from. Like, this is a beautiful name for the agency. And I always tell, I'm not the biggest agency creator and this kind of stuff. I always tell, like, I got lucky with the creating the agency, because I saw it was an untapped market in general, the Google ads, dropshipping, and a lot of people did not know anything. And then I found out a lot of people wanted to have coaching and consulting. I'm like, I'm not into this, but we can do it for you. And that's where my media buyer came in. He's like, yeah, I'm running your stores, I can do it for some other guys as well. And it completely exploded. And if you give people really good results, they will bring new clients in as well. So I never did cold outreach, never did media buying for my own agency. So it's just because of these first 10 clients got insane results. I think they are still in the agency as well, and they bring all the new clients. So literally, I was sitting yesterday with a big agency owner as well, and he's like, people will will not remember you if you have like medium or good results, but they will definitely remember you when you have really great results. So we got insane results, and I always tell this, I think we make dropshippers stupidly rich. That's what I tell people all the time. You're just a lucky dropshipper and we make you stupidly rich, but watch out, what goes up goes down as well. And we see it in the agency every time. We keep pushing these clients, and then of course they go down. We're like, yeah, this is the Icarus model. You can literally scale your business to death, and that's where a lot of people go wrong.
Yeah. Definitely what goes up must come down.
Yeah.
I think with all things, and specifically with growing a business. And a friend of mine came on the podcast recently. His name is Mo Hayek, and the way he kind of explains this is, rather than wins and losses, wins and learnings, because you're always going to have a growth period where you're going to see fantastic numbers. It's going to feel great. You're going to blow past previous PRs, but it's likely that this is not going to be permanent, and there will be some retracement. A bit like how, if you look at a crypto chart, I know you were quite big into gambling and crypto, and I'm not saying crypto is gambling, but like if you look at a crypto chart or even the S&P 500, as Mo describes, you will see that if you zoom out enough, it does go up at a 45-degree angle. But if you look a little bit closely, you'll see there are sprints and there are pullbacks.
Yes.
There are sprints and there are pullbacks. And it's the same in business. You should expect that it's not going to maintain that level of performance forever. There will be a pullback. You're going to need to look at the new problems that have now occurred based on this increase in volume.
Yep.
Like we said earlier at the start of the podcast, like these things at a low volume are not a huge issue, but what is scale? It's an increase in volume, which means the small problems will get bigger much quicker with scale.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't learn from these setbacks, and a lot of people don't understand that they were being taught by gurus like, oh, this is the best business model, it goes up and you will be free for everything, but a lot of people cannot handle these setbacks. Even when I was a physical therapist, a lot of people, when I did the treatment, I told them, tomorrow will be worse. You will feel sore, you will feel like you're doing something wrong. Don't be scared, it will go away within a few days. But always, the next day, they were starting to call me, oh, Jesper, I need to come back, it's really bad. I think my neck is broken right now. No, your neck is not broken. I think that's just a stupid approach. It's really just sit out the day, make sure you don't force anything, wait for it, and you will see it will get better. And indeed, it's really with the, I believe even Jeff Bezos is even telling like the amount of experiments that Amazon does that's how successful Amazon became. And I see everything as an experiment, literally just indeed because you cannot lose, you can just learn. So now trying to really approach everything with a experiment mindset. Let's experiment, because an experiment will never go wrong. You will just learn. And I think that's now the new approach that we do, because sometimes I still get scared with testing new stuff because I know we will lose some momentum, but the cost opportunity is also there. How much do you lose without not taking this advantage and not taking this experiment?
100%. I want to just relate that back to another guest that came on the podcast, Adam Power. He speaks about ignorance debt, and it's the cost of not knowing what you need to know to get to the next level, and the cost in time that causes you. Because in some senses, that's the most expensive thing, right? We all have a finite amount of it and we cannot buy it back, is your time. So the best way to kind of overcome that ignorance debt is simply by testing and bringing new things to market, or as they're called inside of Google Ads, experiments, right?
Yes.
Setting up split tests to see what impact that's going to have on the overall performance. But absolutely, I think that's all that growth and marketing is. It's getting out of that comfort zone. Like you mentioned, sometimes you don't always even feel comfortable with the test, but it's run a test, whatever it may be. If it's something to do with Google Ads or Meta, even if it's at a low budget, see how it performs. If that test was successful, great, you've just found a new vertical that you can then put more budget into and begin scaling that you would not have otherwise known. So that's all that marketing is. That's all that business growth is just small incremental tests, seeing what's working, seeing what sticks, and then channeling more spend, if it's ad budget, or channeling more energy into that vertical to begin scaling.
Yeah, and having the correct mindset as well, handling these experiments and these tests as well. We see a lot in the Google Ads dropshipping space when, for example, Q4 comes in, cost of goods will rise, CPC will rise, CPM will rise. But what does not rise? Their prices. So I tell people, why do you not increase your prices? Yeah, but then I'm maybe losing the auction value. No, please test higher prices, because you will maybe be shocked how good of a leverage this is. And people are like, oh my God, now I finally have the margin again, now I can scale again. And that's where a lot of people really go wrong. They just get comfortable too quickly. And I think this is where the comfort zone really comes from, because then you're really stuck, because you really feel like, oh, getting out of this stuff, I need to experiment a little bit more, but I'm scared for the experiments, so I stay in here. And that's literally what I see as the comfort zone. You really need to get into this stretch/stress zone, because that's where really much learning will be. And I think that's what people skip these days.
Yeah, 100%. I think no growth comes from being in the comfort zone.
No.
And it's really important to kind of step out of that. Or there's a quote I heard, which is to seek discomfort, and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation where you're forced to grow, because that is where the growth happens.
And it is exactly with, I always see it as a ECG. It's like the flat line means you're dead. When you're in a hospital, you don't want to see the flat line. It goes up and down, your heartbeat as well. So this is how you should be approaching, and zoom out as well. And that's, I think in our space, especially now the younger guys as well, they don't have that much experience in life yet. So that means the zoom out scope is really small. So they're like, oh, I was first a Domino's pizza guy and now I'm making some money. Yeah, but zoom out, that's literally a big change already. And a lot of people really feel like, yeah, I'm not there yet. So they keep pushing. But I think by zooming out, you get humble as well. So you've noticed like, oh, that's a really big gap that I already took. And I think that's when you do this, then you really feel more secure as well and more confidence as well. And then you can keep a leap of faith again and try to grow.
It's really important to zoom out and just reflect. I think even making time to try and just breathe for a second and reflect, because it's very easy, especially when you're managing multiple businesses like myself and like you, where you have communities, you have agencies, you have ecom stores. There's a lot of responsibilities, and of course you can outsource, you can automate, but there's still a responsibility that is overarching you and the decision-making process that you need to make sure everything is kind of running smoothly. So no matter what scale you're at, making time to reflect, I feel, is a very, very important thing, because it's very easy to get caught up in, I just need to do this, I just need to hit this target, I just need to do that. And you're on a never-ending hamster wheel. And sometimes it's just a case of pause for a moment, just kind of zoom out a little bit, forget about what everyone else around you is doing, all these big numbers you're seeing on socials, and actually reflect on your own journey, how you've progressed over the past few years and what you've actually been able to achieve. Because when you look at it in that sense, you'll realize there's a lot of small and big wins along the way, and it's worth celebrating those and making the time to celebrate them, because later on everyone's going to look back and realize the good part was the journey. And we all overlook it a lot of the time. It's always chasing this figure, chasing that. But like, one thing I'm really working on, and a lot in my perspective has changed recently, is just really making sure to enjoy the thing that matters, and that is the journey, and trying to instill balance whilst on the journey. And I know it's something that you speak about as well, is just incremental changes in your life to maintain the balance, which I think is extremely important.
It's really good being journey focused and not result driven. I really noticed that. I think that's a big shift in the last year, and now I really noticed that I make my journey even fun as well, because the team members that we have in the agency and the community, we are having a really big blast. Enrique is sitting here as well, my partner in the community. He's here for the first time in Dubai. Just seeing him as well, enjoying as well. Why should we keep the money for ourselves? Because now the journey, we have an amazing week here in Dubai. The team of my agency was also here. We had an amazing time, literally an amazing time. Yes, I could keep the money for myself and just only being stupid with the money for myself. But now I really noticed, if the journey becomes fun, it is also doable to do this for many, many years. And that's where you, as a lone wolf in dropshipping, people don't really understand that. Like the power, even having a journey with people together, sharing some knowledge with each other, sharing some experience like we do here. That's where the journey is really becoming really fun and maintainable as well.
Dropshipping and ecom on your own can actually be quite lonely. That's actually what encouraged me to launch an agency, is just the human interaction. So I did dropshipping on my own from my parents' house in my bedroom for like 2 years. And that was my entry to it. And I think in some ways it really prevented the amount of growth that I was able to achieve, because I was just using the skills that I had to do the things that I was doing, but kind of got stuck at a sticking point and didn't really know how to overcome it. And if I knew back then about things like coaching and mentorship, maybe I would have explored those as well. But the main point I wanted to make was, if you are doing these things and you're valuing money over everything, in the end you're never going to win, I feel like, because you said it yourself, when you were making a lot of money, you were buying watches, you were buying all this stuff, you realize after you do that stuff, none of it even matters. Like, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have a nice watch, it's nice to have a nice car, but in excess of all of these things, like, I think what a lot of people forget is, I recently bought a watch, right? And I liked the idea of having the watch so much more than when I actually got it. Because when I got it, I was like, oh man, I was dreaming of this moment for so long. And then now I've got it, it doesn't feel as special as it did in my mind. And I think that's one thing that you also need to kind of accept, is on this journey of growth and on this journey of chasing revenue and making money and building teams, the journey, I think, is undervalued and underrated versus the money. Everyone wants the nice car and the nice watch, but that will bring you momentary joy. Like you said, these things come up and they come down, and it's the same with your emotion. When you finally achieve that thing, you're going to have that rush of endorphins. I got the new car, it feels great. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm sure it's going to still be a really nice car to drive, but you'll be thinking, what's the next goal? What can I earn now? And I think that's a never-ending thing that people get caught up in, and unfortunately it's valued more than the journey, because we all measure revenue the same way. We all measure money the same way, right? He has a nice car, he has a nice watch, he must be successful. But I think sometimes maybe some of the happiest people are the guys that, like you're saying, are kind of building the teams, making it fun, making it an enjoyable experience, and like not forgetting to live life in the process too, earning the money.
Yeah,
you know?
it's really powerful. I think even having the assets that you just bought, like I don't think if even assets, it's all liabilities that we maybe buy for just getting some quick dopamine in there. And I think you should be treating yourself as well. But looking back to your watch, looking back to your car is literally just the memory of the journey. Yeah. And if you don't make that connection, you literally just bought something really stupid, I think. So there should be something that you watch back. I still have my first car and I still call it the Dropship Mobile. Like literally, like this is the Dropship the Batman mobile. It's a Dropship car. And I still feel very... I should be selling it because I'm getting a kid, and it's way too low for my little baby. Then I will get some back pain. But it's really tough for me to sell this car. I really noticed because I'm selling the journey. I'm literally selling the journey. Then I'm really lost. The connection is lost with the memory. So now my missus is like, yeah, maybe I can keep the car. I'm like, yeah, maybe we should get it. Just keep it in the family, because it was my first car, and it's literally. I still remember the first day that I bought it. I still remember that I could not sleep, and I was just staring out of the window that no one would steal the car. I was really proud of it. But now still that I drive into it, I don't think like, oh, this is the best car, but I really feel the journey. Every time I get goosebumps, I'm like, oh, this was such an amazing journey that I had. And that's just the cherry on the cake. It's literally cherry on the cake. But if you only focus on the cherry, then you lose vision on the cake. And I really keep the vision on the cake, because life is really fun if you approach it this way. And I think that's how it makes it maintainable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I really like that. Milestones. I think milestones are important, and things that signify an achievement. So get the watch, get the car, make sure it relates back to the journey, but don't put too much emphasis on that materialistic thing. Everyone's different. Everyone's going to value things in a different way, but at least that's my learning so far, and it sounds like you kind of share something similar.
Dude, finding the balance between being humble but never satisfied, that's a tough one. Yeah. That's the tough one. So yes, be humble, but keep yourself hungry as well, because being humble gets you really comfortable as well. Like, oh, now I got it. And then you're just like, oh, but you should be thinking about your next milestone, but that's not about your next car or your next watch. No, it's literally just the next milestone in life. And being humble and never satisfied, I think that's really, really powerful. Yeah,
100%. I really, really enjoyed what we were sharing there. I think that's extremely valuable and something that I've learned recently and wish I'd maybe kind of reflected on a bit earlier. So I think people will hopefully see some value in that.
And later, I noticed the older I get, I really shift my focus on the stuff that I really buy with the money. I really value it totally differently. I started doing Ecom for my freedom. And what I noticed, when you buy a lot of watches and cars and this kind of stuff, you need to choose which car am I going to drive, which watch am I going to... That's not freedom for me, literally, because it gives me stress as well. It literally gives me stress. So I always started doing Ecom for the freedom. And I noticed now I'm spending a lot of money with my freedom. So for example, we are getting a little baby in 4 or 5 months, and I really noticed the money really makes sure that now my wife has the best team around her, so she can do a home birth. And in Portugal, where we live, it's not really common, so we feel a lot of friction. But I'm like, yeah, we have the assets to make sure that we can buy this. Like literally, that's what we have. And she's so grateful that we have this life. She's like, oh, I see so many women still struggling, going to the hospital, getting an injection, getting the baby as quick as possible out. And she's like, I want to make this a journey. I want to enjoy my pregnancy. And that's literally how we approach it right now. And now I'm just falling in love with this journey again. I'm like, wow, this is so amazing that my child can be raised here in this way, and my wife is really completely free. My wife was literally a really big consultant as well. She was going to the biggest companies with every time big headaches and stress and medicines, so she had less headaches. And like, now we just have this freedom, and she is like, I will never, I will literally protect everything that we have, because this freedom, it's untouchable. It's really untouchable. And I think getting more liabilities, more assets that you need to take care of, the less freedom you get. And this is why the community that we created is called Freedom Achievers, because a lot of people think wealth and being wealthy and being rich is the freedom that they need to approach. But a lot of people that create the biggest businesses are not free. They are literally not free. And that's what I want to teach. It's like, yeah, the money is really nice, But more money, more problems. More people, more problems. So it's literally just watching back. Where do you still have this free time, this free spare time that you still can enjoy life? Otherwise, you're just making a lot of money, but you're not enjoying life.
And I think that's what we do it all for, right? Is to be able to, I'm not necessarily saying do the home birth, but it's a good thing to kind of relate it back to be able to have the asset and the ability to do things like that and say, no, this is actually something that we want to do. We value this, and this is what it's all about. It's having, like you say, that freedom. And I think that's also what drew me to e-commerce is, you know, the location freedom, the time freedom, and then of course, obviously the financial freedom as well, which comes over time. But I think all three of those aspects combined make a perfect, what would be the way of saying it? But just like a perfect scenario in some senses. Like you want elements of freedom, I think, in all three of those zones. Maybe there's some others as well, but like those three, I think, are what really kind of drew me into ecom and dropshipping, and to be able to be in a position where you can say, hey, you know, no, this is how we're going to do this because that's how I want to do it. I think that's what it's all about. That's the root cause for me as well. This time last year, I was living with my parents at age 27. Today, I live in my dream home in Dubai. If I knew then what I know now, I could have achieved this in 6 months instead of 3 years. Within my Google Ads Ecom Academy, you can learn how to scale e-commerce businesses with Google Ads. These strategies helped me work with known ecom brands like CheeseGeek, as seen on Dragon's Den and invested in by Stephen Bartlett. I also scaled my brother's business, Trope Official, to 1.1 million in sales in 12 months, as well as many, many more. The Google Ads Ecom Academy is designed for all levels, beginners, intermediates, and experts who want to learn how to successfully scale e-commerce businesses. If you want to win with Google Ads, see the video description for more details. All right, now back to the podcast.
Everyone should be like reflecting back, like what kind of freedom do I want to achieve, and that's what you should be focusing on. Because the funny thing is, when I really had a physical job, I had a physical job. I needed to treat patients, so I could not even think like, let's take a day off. Literally, you know, there were people relying on me because they had problems. And then I saw my wife; she was working remote. And for me, literally back then, that was completely freedom. Working from home, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. So I told her every time, I never can do this. I can never do this. I can never bring the patients at home, because then I'm like, who's this at my place? That's literally what I wanted to do. Like, I want to get something remote. I want to get something that I can be home. Because when I had my 9-to-5 job, we were buying our first home, our first house, but I was literally not able to visit these places because I had a 9-to-5 job. My wife was remote, so she was like, I will visit the places. So even the first house that we bought, I never saw it. I literally never saw it before buying, because she's like, yeah, I think this is a really good place. Luckily enough, I knew the city and everything. I was like, yeah, this is a great spot. But I was not able to visit that place. My wife went with her mother, and that's where I really felt like, wait a minute, I really felt wrong. Like, this is really weird that I cannot go home and literally visit the house that I want to buy with my wife, because I have a 9-to-5 with 20 patients per day, and it goes up and down, it was crazy. And then I needed to get maybe a day off, but then I was not being paid. I'm like, that's terrible. I need the money to buy the house. That was the struggle that I had every time. And that's literally, I was literally just searching, how can I just work from home and make money? And that's where I luckily found this guru that teach that teach the dropshipping in the Netherlands. I'm still good friends with him. And that's, every time when I see him, I'm telling him, like, dude, you're the first touch point that gave me the confidence, like, hey, there's something else as well. And this is why I think a lot of gurus right now, they only sell that result. They only sell like, you can make money, you can be time, location, and this kind of stuff. But you should be thinking, what do I want to achieve with my freedom?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's a shame that we only have an hour for this conversation, because I'm really enjoying it personally, and I'm sure everyone watching will as well. Every time you speak, it sparks another thought in my mind and another question to ask. And I don't think we're going to quite have time to go through all of them. But I would have loved to have maybe dived a bit deeper into the community side of things. But on reflection of just kind of the things that you're saying, it kind of sparked a different question that I'd like to go down, just maybe in some of these sort of like closing 10, 15 minutes or so. And that is, I guess, being in the position that you're in and having the different assets that you're responsible for, you know, the community, ecom, the agency and things like this. Also being able to balance your time to kind of enjoy the journey as well. I'd love to know what maybe like a day in the life looks like for you. I know you're living in Portugal at the moment.
Yep.
I think you have a fiance or wife?
Yeah, fiance. Yep.
Fiance and a child on the way. And, you know, I think time management, especially I'd imagine when you're bringing a child into this world, will become even more important to you than it already is. So how do you find the balance between building the assets, achieving the goals, enjoying the journey, and of course spending time to live life along the way?
Yeah, I love this question. When my fiance will watch this back, we will be laughing because I always have a hate and love relationship with the word balance. I really hate this word balance because I really feel like there's nothing balanced in this world, especially now the world is getting crazier and crazier. So I see that we're getting more out of balance. So you need to be powerful to really be in balance. So what I do right now, instead of like time management, I do season management. So what I really see, I have my seasons. I really have my seasons of locking in and working, but I also have my seasons of not doing a fuck. And that's literally what I do. And I learned this by doing it 7 years already. So I noticed, oh yes, when Q4 comes in, I'm locked in, Q1 as well. But in the summer, you will not see me working like crazy. This is why I moved to Portugal. This is why I was working in the Netherlands, 9 to 5. Even when I had the dropshipping going on, I had an office. I was literally 24/7 locked in, and I really felt like this is not good. This is not the freedom that I started working for. Yes, I'm making millions, but I cannot even spend the millions on nice stuff. And that's when I noticed, okay, I need to enjoy life way more. And I notice every time in the summer I get more relaxed. I'm trying to travel a lot, but then in the Q4, yes, being locked in as well. So now me and my fiance, we really know each other's seasons as well. So now literally I'm in high season for myself because we are doing crazy stuff with the business. But I know summer will be around because I'm preparing myself already for in the summer and being a dad. So I told my team as well, you will see me giving 120%, 140% until the kid comes. But then you will see Jesper on 60% for the rest of the year. And people are like, oh, I like that approach. So this is literally a sprint that I really do. And time management is really still a tough place to do. But then I noticed getting approached with getting good people in the good places. That's what's really unlocking for me the really good time management. I could never do this without the correct people around me. And that's where I focused last year heavily on. Last year it was really just getting the people in the right places so I have more time to do and enjoy my life as well, but also focusing on the stuff that really needs to be done by me.
I think once again, a lot of overlap between the things that we share and value. It's funny, you said seasons. I often relate back to like phases in life and being in a certain phase in my life, or being in kind of like sprint mode or kind of jogging based on kind of the task at hand. And I've been saying to my partner recently, who obviously I share a house with, we live together, my missus, that is, not business partner. I was saying to her the past couple of days, like, okay, I really kind of have a big vision for the next 8 to 12 weeks. I've mapped out what this timeline is going to look like and all of the things that I want to achieve. And I'm just going to tell you now, I may be on my laptop a bit more than usual. Yep. I'm still going to make time for you, but I really feel like I need to lock in and I need to do this.
Yep.
And of course, it's important as well to have a partner who can kind of respect that and respect your decision as well. I think maybe it's a little bit easier as well for you because I think you both work together, right? Or
no, we don't work together. Like literally, she has a completely different job.
Okay.
But what you said there, it's just about informing. And a lot of guys forget the informing. Yeah. They literally don't tell anything. And they're just like, you just need to get used to it. No, just inform, man. We're humans.
Yeah.
Just inform what you're doing, what you expecting to do. And that's my lesson. Like I sometimes forget to inform as well. And then I'm being really reactive. Like, oh shit, I screwed up. Then I need to fix some stuff. But just being informative. Like if I have a big webinar going on for the Skool community, I tell her like, hey, this week will be crazy. You will be seeing me working 9 to 9 and I will be stressed out as well. So then she knows like, okay, we're gonna order more food, we're getting the maids in, we're getting everything. And she's like, okay, that's really good. But she has her seasons as well. She's like, oh, but I have she's a flow dance teacher. She's like, so let's map out that we don't have like the exact same thing going on in the same place. And then that's really powerful by being aligned with each other and being aligned with the seasons. But she is also like, hey, but I'm going into labor in 4 months. Yeah. So you should be making sure that you have some time around that as well. So we I think mapping out, like getting the war map out, that's what Sam Ovens called back in the days. It's really powerful. It's really powerful. But yeah, I'm not. I'm not the best in it, so I'm just doing more experiments, learning from it, getting feedback, saying sorry as well if I screwed up, and not like, oh, you don't understand. That's what a lot of guys do. You don't understand how important this is. She does, but you don't understand how important she is for you. And that's where she's literally my rock, my foundation. So I don't want to screw up things. So I just test, okay, how much can I stress this, and how much can I make sure that I'm still aligned with her. If we misalign, the connection goes away, and that's really terrible. And I know her for 15 years already, so half of my life I've been with her. So I'm like, this is too powerful to take away and just do stupid stuff.
Yeah, I think informing is the key thing to kind of take away there. And I think that's maybe the same for any business relationship, any relationship, business or personal, is communication, I think, is probably the most important thing. And that doesn't mean you need to be on the phone talking to each other at all times, but it's just informing one another of maybe how you feel about a certain situation, but also the things that they should be expecting from you moving forwards based on what your focuses are. Because you are right, everyone tries to kind of operate, well, maybe not everyone, but it's a word that gets thrown around a lot, and we've even mentioned it in this podcast, is balance. But the way I describe it, you said seasons, I say phases, is on the longer picture, if I zoom out, there is balance, but not every day there is balance. It's sprints and jogs, or phases of growth and then maintenance.
Yep.
So it's just on a zoom. When you zoom out, there is balance, but day to day there is not.
No, there is no balance on the day. Yeah, so this is literally what I tell every time. I don't want to be balanced on the day, but if I zoom out on the year, I'm like, oh, this was a great year. I still enjoyed, but I also worked really, really hard. And I think that's where we can touch on with the community as well. That's what it really learned me. It's like the community business model is, I think, the toughest business that I ever created, because it's an insane hustle to maintain people, but getting people in is, for me, pretty easy, because we really have a good product, we really have a good community, but maintaining these people and making sure that they are still enjoying and they still renew, that's one of the toughest times. So now we literally know, okay, we have focused 3 to 4 months on retention and churn. Our churn is really, really low at this moment for this community. Sam Ovens was like, in general, a 20% churn rate on your community is good. Everything below, you're excellent. So we're getting close to 10% churn rate, which is really amazing. But we focused only on churn. Now the season of growth comes. So we know churn will go up, but that's not the focus. That's not the focus. We will go on growth. That's what we're going to focus on. And then we will see what we're going to do after the phase of churn, for example, and retention. And this is how we get the seasons in there. And for me, it makes sense. For example, right now we're coming to close to summer. People would love to now get some money before summer ends. So now we're like, let's do more stuff in the community so people get more value out of it. And then when the summer comes, we make sure that people are still being maintained, because now they're maybe going on a holiday. So we need to make sure that they have some reasons to come back as well. And that's where that's how we balance this right now. And that's a tough one. But yeah, it's the toughest business that I have, but it's the most fun business that I have.
I think so. I think subscriptions are difficult.
Yep.
That's why I'm always like, hats off to anyone who kind of builds like a SaaS project or a community, because I know it myself, when you might want to test out a subscription, there's always a free trial. You'll come in for the free trial, probably be busy doing other stuff. You maybe give it 30 minutes and go, it doesn't work. This tool, I don't have time for it. And in some senses, if it's a monthly subscription in a community, I can't say for sure, but maybe it's a similar thing. People think they're going to come in and commit all this time to it. Maybe they don't give it the time it deserves, therefore they don't get the result, and then they bounce. So it's, as a leader of a community or even a leader of a business, is making sure that people kind of stay engaged, making sure that they're progressing and really kind of mapping something out that is in some senses foolproof, but also having the aspect of checking in on them, making sure they're progressing. There's so many little touch points that need to be in place that it's kind of crazy. So the fact that you've done it at, I would say at scale, I think maybe 400 members or a few more in your community, that's fantastic.
Dude, it was even with the free trial. So we have the option of a free trial, but I turned it off because that was the experiment that we had. We did the free trials. We even came up to almost close to 600 members. So we're like, let's go. This is insane. I can remember that Enrique, my partner, was like, dude, there will be no cons behind this. Like, we should be trying this. And we're like, but maybe the terrible people come in. Okay, let's test. And indeed, like, from these 300 trial members, maybe 10% stayed in. Imagine, because people come with the mindset, let's try this out. But then they see the first video of me telling people, you need to lock in for 90 days. I will promise you, if you do the stuff you do, what needs to be done in the community, you will make your first 1K day in 90 days. You literally will do it. And then people are like, oh my God, 90 days. I don't have time for doing that. And then they see me scaling a store from 0 to 100K per month in the first 60 days. So like, oh, it is possible, but 90 days is a really tough time. So then, yeah, it's really, really bad. So we turned off, to be honest, the free trial because it attracts the wrong people.
Yeah.
Now we're really strong on it. I'm thinking about raising the prices as well, because the higher it gets, the price, the more value people we get in, but also I can provide more value back. So right now we're in Dubai, and literally we hosted a mastermind for the community members as well. And they came in here, like I believe 15 people came into my apartment, and we did an amazing mastermind, and that's all included with the community. So this is what I'm trying to do, and with Freedom Achievers, because I think within a community, you have so many people in trenches that you get so much information in. There is not that the course of anything else. It's not a golden hack or a golden trick. It's multiple stuff that you need to apply. And I think within a community, that's really powerful. People are trying so many experiments, and they share the results of the experiments, which is amazing.
For sure. It's a shame that some people do have that mentality that you described of like 90 days, I cannot commit to that. But I just think it's so unrealistic to feel as though you're going to make any life-changing changes if you can't even at least commit to 90 days. You know, it's, you know, think about how long people go to university for. 4 years on average, depending on the degree. So, you know, some people are able to commit to that, but anything outside of that, 90 days, this is too long for me to make something that, like, make a decision that's potentially going to change my life.
And it's easy for them because they know already the tangible thing, the degree. They already know they get it. So there's like, that's like, in a security, you know what I mean? It is. So within info products, within courses, people don't know because they need to do the hard work, and it's only reliable on them. And now with a community, with a university degree, it's nothing. Like, you just need to follow the classes, you just need to pass the classes, and you will get this paper, which is worthless in my opinion. But I think getting the degree of Freedom Achievers and getting the 1K a day, that's the degree that you get, and you will learn so much more in 90 days within our community than 4 years in university. I can tell you that. Yeah.
I guess maybe that's where some sort of guarantee comes in, isn't it? To kind of seal the deal. Like, look, if you do commit this time, I can tell you that you will achieve the desired result, but you're going to have to lock in. Yeah,
it's always funny because we are right now coaching some people one-on-one in the community as well. So if people want to work with me, they can join the community first, get to know me a little bit, and then yes, you can work with me one-on-one. But then I tell them, I give you no guarantees because life is not even guaranteed. I don't believe in guarantees in anything, but I can tell you, I will guarantee if you don't put in the work, you will not get results. That's the only guarantee that we give. And the second guarantee is I will do my best to get you to the 1K day, but we need to work together. And this is where the coaching program comes in, the community program comes in, and this is why we can serve so many different people because we have so much different stuff going on. And I think that's really really powerful.
Yeah, I like the reverse guarantee. Guarantee that if you do not take action, then you will not get the desired result. That's a good way of putting it. Man, well, Jesper, we've covered a lot. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. Like I say, I actually wish we had another hour because I feel like we only were able to kind of scrape the surface on some topics, and I think there was so much more value that we could have shared. So I want to say again, thank you for coming down. I hope you've enjoyed your time in Dubai.
Dude, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed being here. And yeah, for the people there that are watching, there's still there will be a link. Your link will be in the description for the community. You guys can check it out. But yeah, thanks, man. I really enjoyed the time in Dubai. I will be back every year because it really opens my eyes. Every time coming here, I really feel the high energy. Like, I think I slept for 4 or 5 hours every day, but I don't get that tired because the frequency is really, really high here.
For sure. Don't worry, I didn't forget about the links as well. I'm going to make sure that we put in the description all of the relevant links for you, your community, and how people can find you. And yeah, I would just say thank you again for coming on. Really, really enjoyed the conversation. Hope you have a safe flight home and see you again soon.
Thank you, man.